Wake up in the morning, feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders. I wanna move closer, but I don't control it. I know I've been trying, the door isn't open. I know it sounds funny, but really though, in the beginning we really close. Now we just cruising up on the coast. Don't wanna lose you, I really don't. My God, I'm working so hard. I let my guards down and I'm feeling so far. You won't cut me off and I'm ready to grow and I'm ready to know you more. Please, I honestly say I'm mature. It ain't my decision, it's yours. But I will persuade with my arm, cause I'm ready to run to your arms. I just want you to know that I wanna go to a place where I find you, a place I call home, a place where I'm not alone. And maybe I'll grow just a little bit more, and I'll be adored. Then I'll be adored. Then I'll be adored. Then I'll be adored. Then I'll be adored. I go back and forth when I feel your presence. I'm above the world. There isn't much better, but then I fall levels and levels below it. Don't know where I'm going, don't know where I'm holding. I say I gave up, but I know I didn't. It's just my frustration, I'm only human. I act like I know what I'm really doing. As long as it's you that I'm really choosing. I will never give up, no, I wanna do it your way. You're the king of the world, only wanna do what you say. I know that it's possible to give back my heart to you. Do it that you choose. I just want you to know that I wanna go to a place where I find you, a place I call home, a place where I'm not alone. And maybe I'll grow just a little bit more, and I'll be adored. Then I'll be adored. Then I'll be adored. Then I'll be adored. Then I'll be adored. I know that you love me, I really do. Just wanna do right by you till it's through. Please don't ignore me, please just adore me. Wanna be closer to you. I just wanna make you happy. A shining light looking right at me. I give to you gladly, that's my reaction. I just want you to know that I wanna go to a place where I find you, a place I call home, a place where I'm not alone. And maybe I'll grow just a little bit more, and I'll be adored. Then I'll be adored. Then I'll be adored. Then I'll be adored. Then I'll be adored. Okay.
Welcome to Parents and Pennies, where family meets financing and every dollar counts. Brought to you by MITM Business Consultants. Join your hosts, Art Abrahamian, with over 12 years of experience in finance, banking, and business advising, and Roy Rosales, a father of two and coach to many, who has an extensive background in real estate. These two family men are here for you, bringing real stories, practical tips, and financial wisdom every week to keep your family thriving. They'll help you secure your family's financial future through simple, memorable financial adjustments that will help you achieve your financial goals. Because when it comes to family and finances, it's not about having more. It's about making the most of what you have. Here's Art and Roy.
What is going on, everybody? This is the first episode of Parents and Pennies. We are happy to be here. We are excited to bring this show to you. Today's episode 1. I am here with my amazing co-host, Roy Rosales. Roy, what's going on?
How we're doing? I am truly blessed. More importantly, how are you doing, Art?
I'm doing well, brother. I'm doing well. Thank
That's
you very
right,
much.
Man.
Today's podcast is going to be a little bit different for those of you who are coming from the Man in the Middle podcast, where we talk everything business and how to, better yourself as a business owner. One can't exist without the other, right? So
Yes.
we can't be a good businessman if we can't be a good person.
Yeah.
We can't have that financial freedom if we don't have that financial peace inside of us too. And I think that's what's been missing in today's America. A lot of families are struggling out there, and we really want to bring this podcast to them to help them save more and not focus so much on how much money they have, but more so what they can do with their money and how to make it go further. So I think that's really what we're aiming for in this podcast.
And also how to make better decisions, right? When
Yeah.
it comes down to things. And, one thing in school, they never really taught us how to make a better decision,
Right.
How to really choose and how to observe all those the information.
Right.
And I think that's where we are always putting us in a bad position when we are not aware that there's more options, and then we just go make an emotional decision.
Right.
And then now, now you're in debt, or no, now you're doing something that you regret, or someone like, I shouldn't have done that. So, you got to know what you really want in life.
Yeah. And that's the hard thing, right, is knowing what you want in life, because it's just not that simple. If it was that easy, everybody would be successful. We say the same thing about businesses. If
Yeah.
it was easy, everybody would be rich, and it's like it just doesn't work that way. So, our goal with this podcast is to just help families make better decisions.
Yes.
And as family men that we are, it's more so, what can we share with people that have helped our families grow? I mean, you and I have both walked easy paths, hard paths, and it's
Yes.
taken us to where we are now, and we've navigated them differently, and coming together, we've made each other better. So if we can do that for the rest of the people out there, it's a win-win.
Yeah. Well, once you identify that you're not the only one that went through it, I think that's another thing, that there's hope. Like, there's other people that have gone through this, right? I'm not the only one. And there's people out there that can help me and guide me and be a mentor, right? Or just educate me on what I should do now. I think that's the biggest thing too, is also finding those resources.
Yeah.
Who's really there to help you,
Right.
encourage you, support you. It's simple, but it ain't easy.
Yeah.
Right? It's just making good decisions every time is
Yeah.
what's going to help you along the way,
Yeah.
right?
No, I agree. And one of the things that I'll say, it's pretty interesting. I always ask people this question. I'm like, babies are born, right?
Yeah.
And we encourage them everything.
Yeah.
Oh, they farted. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
Oh, they spit. Oh my
Yeah.
God, great. And I feel like that encouragement makes them take the next step, right? But it seems like the moment a certain age gets hit, we lose that encouragement for each other.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, I've always been a believer that if we were to just keep that encouragement, right? If we were to just keep that with each other, with our families, with our friends, with our kids, with our loved ones, if we were to just encourage them the way that we do when they were babies, taking their first step, because what makes that kid take that first step, right? What makes that baby? It's everybody around him cheering him on, and he's like, holy crap, I don't know what's going on, but I think I can do this.
That's right.
But then that falls off, and it's like, when I needed you most, where's that support? Where's that, right? So it's more so where it's like, it's a really interesting dynamic to think. As babies, we encourage babies to do everything, but then once we get to a certain age, we stop encouraging people.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's that lack of encouragement that makes people feel like there is a threshold and I've already met it.
And one thing I can apply to that, what you're talking about, is just now you need to change your circle on that part. As soon as I changed my circle, my life, I got cheerleaders.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I got cheerleaders, and my biggest supporters, I was like, what? You're supporting me, you're encouraging me to make more business,
Right.
or do this, do that, or when I fail, right? Or I learned a lesson from a mistake I did, they're more encouraged. They're like, that's great. Now you're not gonna do that again.
Yeah.
Go out there, right?
Yeah.
And in previous, they will keep you down. Oh, you that's why you shouldn't try again. Don't do it again. Like, stay here. Like, they'll keep you down there when
Yeah.
they don't want you to get bigger, or just build a better life, a rich life.
Right.
And surrounding yourself with the right people, man, it's
Yeah,
a
it
whole
changes.
different. Well, you just see the bigger blessings
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah, it changes. It changes everything. Being around the right people, being around the right group of people, being around, what's that old saying is look at your five closest friends, and if you don't like what you see, that's you.
Yeah.
You're a reflection of who you're around. So if you're a person who wants to do better, grow, become better, and the people you surround yourself with don't have that same mentality and drive, then unfortunately it's just not gonna.
Well, the thing about that is they may still be in your life, but how much time are you giving it to them, right?
How deep do you let them be in your life?
Involved, because if I have to explain to you, I go to sleep at 8. If I have to explain to you, you don't understand why.
Yeah.
Right. The people that have the same business, same mindset, same goals in their life, I don't need to explain to. They know I'm asleep by 8.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not gonna call him. I'll talk to him in the morning, or I'll text him, hey, call me in the morning.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's another different way that different people is still in your life, but not everyone needs to be in the same page.
Yeah.
Right. But they need to know what's important to you, because I go to sleep early, and I built a habit with my wife and my kids, because I need them to know, hey, going to sleep early and waking up early is a blessing.
Yeah.
Right. And everyone else is asleep, but we're awake. We're able to give some time to individually each other. We get to talk a little bit more without any distractions. Going to sleep by 8 and then waking up at 3:30 in the morning, that's tough.
Yeah.
And being consistent. And so as my kids started seeing that, I want my kids to understand, like, hey, when you do that, you're going to separate yourself already from everyone, and you're going to find the right people that are in the same page with you.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I agree.
And that's important for me.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. I think, the people watching this can go back and see who I am, but I want to know, give our viewers a little bit more about you. Who's Roy Rosales, and why do I love him so much that he's here today?
I'm 6'5". You know what I mean? I'm 6'5", very handsome. Everything, but April Fools. I mean, I'm 5'6", right? A good solid 5'6", and very handsome, and I believe I'm very confident in what I say or believe, and I'm the 4 most important things in my life is God, family, then is business, and then is football.
Yeah.
Right? And I coach, I teach, and I love that. That's a passion of mine. One of the things that I want to do is I want to be the reason I'm a blessing to someone, right? Versus a burden.
Yeah.
So I'm only constantly saying blessed to be a blessing, because it is, right? Because there's so many people around me that has helped me along the way. So aside from that, I've been coaching football for about 12 years now. And so I have met a lot of young kids along young minds that they are where I was at. And we don't know how the real life is going to be.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I've noticed. Like, I don't want that. I don't want them going into out of high school and not knowing.
Yeah.
So another thing that, aside from football, I want to teach them about building wealth, understanding, like, hey, there's more things out there than just staying here, right? It's just what is important to you.
Yeah.
We want to find that. And, I've been through a lot. I've been through a lot. 2 days from now, my wife and I are going to be 12 years married.
That's a blessing, man.
That's a
blessing.
beautiful blessing. But I will tell you, those 12 years, 12 chapters, they're not all, they're not the same. They're not the same. And we both had to learn how to communicate with money. you know, and it was weird because my family never really talked about money. Her family never really talked about money. Money always felt it was scary, right? So we had to learn how to do that. And, you know, me getting into $70,000 in debt.
Wow.
Because I was making bad decisions, emotional decisions, and all those things. And then on top of that, bad health, right? All those things, the negative things that I did. And it almost ruined a lot of the things that were more important to me.
Yeah.
Right. And I never wanted to do that. So I had to make a change. So how did I make a change? By getting educated, surrounding myself with better people, and also be more open about reading books.
Yeah.
Right. That's one thing that tripped me out. I was never a reader. But once I started reading about books on how to make myself better, right?
Yeah.
I can't, my wife can't love me more than I can love myself.
Yeah.
Right.
No one can love you more than you can love yourself.
Ex-
That's for sure.
But that's the thing. I didn't know how. So I had to learn.
Yeah.
So now in this stage, you know, we're seeing a lot of happiness in my marriage, right? We're feeling like boyfriend and girlfriend. We're going on dates. You know, we're being real sexy, right? Like I'll just straight out, we're being real sexy, you know, and and I want my daughter and my son to see that their parents love each other, right? Hold hands still. They still tell each other I love you every day, every morning, and I want to enjoy my kids a lot more, you know, because as time goes by,
it goes by quick too.
It goes by
way too quick. My daughter just turned 5, and I'm like, what the hell
happened?
My
son is turning 5 on the 30th of this month, man, and I'm crazy. Like, what? He's talking to me all kinds of words that I'm like, well, I've never heard you talk to me like in sentences, you know, and I think that's the beautiful thing. And for me, that's worth more than a paycheck.
Yeah.
And I just want to be there because at the end of the day, what's the point of you having all that money if your kids are not even there?
Yeah.
That they don't want to even visit you.
Yeah. You know, it's funny you mentioned that because I can tell you right now, I've seen the richest of the rich, I've seen the poorest of the poor, and I've seen everything in between that.
Yeah.
And the most common denominator has always been relationship with family is either there or it's not. Yeah. When they say, oh, being rich doesn't make you happy, that's not entirely true. Having money makes you comfortable.
Yeah. And
being comfortable will make you happy because there's a lot of stresses that a lot of people watch and that ourselves can remember where it's like sleeping, trying to sleep and just staring at that wall going, how am I going to make tomorrow's payment?
Yeah.
Right. And knowing that you don't have to worry about that makes life easier and more navigatable. However, what will never change, no matter the level of wealth, is if you allow yourself to have your loved ones in there. Right. So that's something you decide. And I've seen a lot of wealthy people miserable because they have no relationship with their kids. Their kids are complete strangers to them. I've seen poor people with no relationship to their kids because they just find their vices in unhealthy things, whether it's, you know, if it's not family, it's going to be drugs or alcohol. And especially in the finance sector where it's like cocaine use it's crazy. Yeah. It is insane how much in just that alone.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's really heartwarming to hear you say what you're saying about how you make time for the family. Because me too, most people ask why I won't take appointments before 10 or 11. It's because that's time with my daughter. I make her breakfast. We spend time together. We talk a little bit because while I'm going to be gone for a few hours and working, I want her to know Daddy loves you.
Yeah.
And he wants to spend time with you. So, you know, I'm sure as the episodes progress further and further, we'll get to go in depth in our stories and how you were able to accumulate that debt. And then how you were able to get rid of that debt. We got Rise with K-Do's. What's going on, Kendall? We wish you were here, buddy, but I'm glad you're checking it out. This is Kendall, the guy that does the Man in the Middle podcast.
Awesome, man. So nice to meet you, bro.
Hopefully we're trying to get him situated so he can be a part of this because he's a big family man, a big God-loving and fearing man, too.
There we go.
You know, it's good. But today we're going to talk about 5 scary financial facts, right? I know Halloween's over.
Yeah.
But we got 5 scary financial facts to talk about. And one of them, I mean, they're all really important, right? Like, I can't emphasize and stress out how important these facts are. And if you're listening and this resonates with you, that's all right. Just make that mental
You're
note that you are part of that statistic, but we're gonna talk about some ways to do things better.
Yes.
The first one, that 54% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. That's crazy.
It's crazy, but it's true.
Yeah.
Right. Again, 12 chapters with my wife. In those 12 chapters, 6 of those were paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
And, we couldn't really enjoy life a lot because, again, we accumulated debt, but still, we were just paycheck to paycheck to what we wanted to live our style.
Yeah.
So that is 100% true. And in that case, because it was my wife and myself, that's 100% true.
Yeah.
Not 54%. That's 100% true that we were living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah. And a lot of misconceptions about money, and when we do our, seminars, I say this, and you've heard me say it. It's like a lot of people think if I made more money, I'd be okay. Mm-hmm. And there's a certain level of there's a truth to that, but it's not. Mm-mm. Because the old banking homage was, how you go broke making $1 million a year?
By spending
a million one. Yeah. Spend $1 million, you'll be broke making $1 million a year. Budgeting is one of the most important things a person can do for themselves and for their families, because the dollar amount shouldn't make you want to budget more or less. You have to budget regardless. Yeah. And, a lot of times we talk about in finances, the 50-30-20 rule, and it's a good
well, elaborate a little bit more on
so
the
50-30-20 rule is essentially 50% are needs, 30% are wants, 20% is savings.
Got it.
Right. And usually you flip the 30 and 20. But the thing is, it's that's hard to do, especially with the rate of inflation and things going the way that they, are. I mean, I know that, and we don't really get political or anything, but it's I believe that with everything that just happened, things will start going back to normal. Pricing will start going down because you're in the real estate division. And it's how many people do you see getting approved for homes that they can't afford? And what I mean by that is the average approval these days is $300,000, right?
Yeah.
The average approval. Mm-hmm. What's the average cost of a home?
More than $300,000.
Right. So it's great, I'm approved, but I can't afford the home because the homes are so inflated. And part of that, it goes back to just you can't control that, right? Yeah. That's just external world issues that need to get fixed through proper legislation. But what you can fix is that when the pricing does come down, because there are a lot of people who may be approved for $300,000, but they don't have the money for it. They don't have the down payment. You know this better than anybody. They don't have the resources they need. They don't have the credit. So it's more so just understanding you could make $1 million a paycheck or you could make $1,000 a paycheck. You should still budget. And as you continue to make more money, you have to reevaluate your budget, right? Yeah. Budgeting is one of the most important things you can do. And 40% of people earning more than $100,000 per year, 40% of those people making over 6 figures are still living paycheck to paycheck.
Wow. That's, as these last few years, God has blessed me for the things that I didn't have before.
Yeah.
Right. Because now I'm betterly mentally, physically, and more importantly, spiritually. And including him in my life was the game changer. Right. Prioritize number one. But one thing, when you have no debt and you're still making the same money, you're living your best life.
Yeah.
You do not need to make more for you to live a best life.
Yeah.
You just need to have less things that it's holding you back.
Yeah.
And once I eliminated that, my life started changing, man.
It's a breath of fresh air.
Right? My wife was like, do we need to get anything else? I'm like, no, we don't. And she's like, why do we have a lot? I'm like, yeah, we can take more trips now.
Yeah. Without
costing us anything. And we don't have to worry about things. We have reserves. We have savings. We have this. We have that. Yep. And once those things aligned, man, like life, we started seeing things differently now as well. We started giving more. Like, let me help out more in our communities, right? I donate a lot. I donate a lot to football teams, to soccer teams. You know, people have reached out to me like, hey, can you help us? We're trying to order new uniforms. I'm like, of course.
Yeah.
Let me help out. And the blessings for those little kids to come out and say, thank you so much. Like, we got new uniforms, right? I believe you me, man. That's the difference right there.
And you know, the funny thing is, like, people seeing that logo of yours on all those kids' clothes are probably thinking, man, this guy must be a millionaire. It's like, we're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
But it's proof that you don't have to be a millionaire to afford those luxuries, because you just have to budget properly. And most people, you know, it's like, I can't tell you, I did a consultation with a up and coming barber. The guy's one of the best in the desert. He's winning countless awards, and you know, he's just amazing. He's a guy that I now go to every week on Mondays.
That's right. You're getting your fade up, man.
That's my boy.
That's up.
And one of the conversations we had was like, do you think you could open your own place? And he goes, no, it's be too much. It'd be way too much. And I said, we haven't even looked in the numbers, and you've done it already. And what did he do? He was his worst enemy. Before we even got to look at what it would cost, he put a number in his head that he couldn't afford. And to him, it was impossible. And he said, I would just in equipment alone, I would need $7,000, $8,000. All right, tell me what you need. Yeah. And we sat right here at this desk, right here, went on this computer, went on Amazon, went on all the barber websites and started pulling up. I said, all right, cool. Let's pretend this much is designated towards rent, which you already pay probably more than what it would be for rent if you open your own place, to the chair that you rent. And I want you to tell me all the things you need. Well, I need this, and I need this. I need this mirror. I need this ring light. I need this. I need that. I need this. Okay, cool. So I got it all together, and I said, I had the number, and I didn't show it to him. I said, how much do you think all this costs? And he saw the numbers when we were adding it up, but he got lost in the translation of, like, he didn't even add it together. In his mind, oh, it's going to be way too expensive. I said, how much do you think it's going to be? He's like, $6,000. It was like $2,200.
Yeah. And
I said, there's your business. $2,200 is what you need to invest to get your own place going. And he just went, what the hell? Yeah. I was like, can you afford $2,200? He's like, yeah. I said, great. But why did you think 5 seconds ago that you couldn't do this? Right? It's that encouragement. Going back to what we were talking about, that encouragement, where it's like you immediately put yourself out of reaching this potential of getting to the next step. For what? Because you think you can't do it, when it's like your skill's there. Yeah. All you had to do was budget. Mm-hmm. And I said, how's your budget look? Oh, because, I don't make that much money and this and that. And he makes plenty of money. Yeah. He makes plenty of money to afford opening his own place. But because he doesn't budget, and once we made him budget, it all went to food, it all went to drinks, it all went to this, it all went to that. And it's like, and I told him, I said, when we do the budgets, I don't want you to use this as an excuse to fight at home. Because that's the first thing that happens. Yeah. When you start pointing out people's expenditures, the defensive mechanism shows up, where it's like, well, this is on me, that's my wife, and this is my kids, and this. It's like, it doesn't matter. Yeah. It doesn't matter who it is. All I want you to be is aware that you're overspending. And the money that you wish you had, you have it. The only difference is you're choosing to put it somewhere where it shouldn't be. So does that mean I never want you to go out and eat? No, but is there a better way to do it? Absolutely. And we have some tips for you guys at the end, because Roy has already started reaching out to some locals in town and telling about Parents and Pennies. And a lot of businesses are like, we want to help the community too, and we want them to come shop here on certain days where they can get the most of their money, right? And in our intro, it says it. It's not about how much you have. It's about making the most of what you have. Yeah. And that's what, our main goal is. And like going into our next fact, our next scary, spooky fact for in the November. I know Thanksgiving's around the corner, but we're not quite away from Halloween yet. Paying for an emergency, right, is something 61% of Americans cannot do.
And I was there, right? I was there. Again, thank God I've never been in that type of emergency part, right, that took me off from work or anything like that. Sure. or my wife. However, like it's scary to now think like, wow, we did not have that.
Yeah.
And one story I can give, my wife, I love her so much, and I respect her so much. And one time we went to the beach, and she got burnt, bro, burnt. Right? She decided to take a nap, and her legs were red. You know, so well, we decided to go to Buffalo Wild Wings. So before we entered, she decided to put some Victoria's Secret lotion. That has some alcohol in it, right?
Yeah.
So not at that moment, but as soon as we got home, she started feeling burn in her legs. Burn. The next morning, bro, it was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad. She couldn't even move. But because we didn't have any emergency money, no savings,
Yeah.
she went to work the whole week.
Wow.
And as she went to work, after work she went to the emergency room. The emergency room told her, "You have second-degree burns."
Wow. From the sun.
From
and
the
then
sun.
the alcohol probably made it worse,
Yes.
the irritation. That's crazy.
And those moments, man, make me realize, like, wow, it's my fault for not being better
Yeah.
educated, right? The education is there. The information is there. The right people maybe were not there.
Yeah.
Like you just said about the barber. You were there to consult him. Like, hey, you can do this. You have a blessing. Make it a business.
Yeah.
Right? So me going through that, seeing my wife go through that, instead of saying, no, you don't have to go to work. Heal up. Right? I couldn't. Me as a man, as the husband, I could do better.
Yeah.
And those are little moments that made me who I am right now. But dang, man, that was crazy not having it. And again, right, we're not taught this in high school.
We're not taught this in college either. I used to be the financial literacy educator for the bank, and I would go to colleges, universities, and I'm sitting here with the future surgeons of America, future doctors of America, who don't even understand that using 30% of your credit is bad.
Crazy.
You know, at the last event we did, I said to your football team and all the other people that were there at that finance, conference that we did, where it was like paying your credit is not a bad thing. And one of your football players said, well, my uncle says that paying your cards off hurts your credit. And I said, what's your uncle do for a living? Well, he's a mechanic. Yeah. It's like, cool. So let's stick to him being a mechanic, okay?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It just takes one person to spew some random TikTok garbage or whatever. And then now, I'm glad we were there that day, because if anything I take away from that is like that football player walked away going, I almost made an oopsie.
Yeah.
Because he would have lived the rest of his life until somebody had to correct him and be like, hey, her paying off credit cards is not good.
Yeah.
We got to make sure that there's debt on those mofos.
Yeah, no. And again, right, we're getting advice from people that are not licensed or are not professionals on that.
Yeah, even if you're not licensed, just don't give advice if you don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Like, I know plenty of people who aren't licensed financial advisors, but they have a sense of what finances are because they walked that line and they understood good tips and tricks. But when you're telling me my uncle's a mechanic, well, what's your uncle? Does he live in a mansion? No. Does he have no debt? No. Does he own his house free and clear? No. Cool. So maybe this is not the person we take advice from.
In that subject, right?
In that subject, right. Now, we're going, hey, how do I change my tire?
Yeah.
Or how do I fix this in a car? Yeah, for sure. We're going to say, hey.
I'm not giving no mechanic advice.
Exactly.
Right?
I don't go to my mechanic for doctor advice. I don't go to my doctor for financial advice. And the funny thing is, most people don't know this. Doctors are the worst at managing their finances. They are the epitome of, I make a ton of money and I have nothing to show for it. But, we talk about those emergencies, and 37% of those Americans that we discussed out of the 61% can't even afford to pay $400 in emergencies. When I say that we have a savings problem and a budgeting problem, I'm not talking like, earthquake happened and I need to pay $15,000, or somebody's severely sick and it's going to drain me and I'm going to have to pay hundreds. I'm talking 37% of America can't afford a $400 emergency, yet we have the audacity to walk around with $2,000 phones in our pocket.
Yeah.
That we finance. Yet we have the audacity to live beyond our means that, for what? We wear $1,000 Louis Vuitton shoes and $1,200 this belt and that belt and these clothes. And you can't even afford $400 in an emergency. It's your priorities that you need to get together.
Or a getaway to Vegas.
Yeah,
right?
or a getaway to Vegas. I can't tell you how many people I've seen who bet it all, bet it all on black. This is my rent money. It's like, that's your priorities are not straight. Now you're wondering, okay, well, what about above $400? 3 out of 5 Americans can't afford $1,000 emergency. That means that the 3 out of 5, that's 60% of Americans can't afford the 1,000. So 37% can't afford 400.
Double that.
60% can't afford 1,000. If you live in a home, like my wife and I just recently had an issue. Our house started flooding because our washer and dryer, we have a fancy washer and dryer, dual load, this and that. My wife has figured out the game. Don't ask me for anything all year and then ask for one big thing at the end of the year, And that was
I hope my wife is not listening to that one right now.
Where it's like, and some people are like, oh, that's great. It's better that way. I'm like, no, but it's a financial hit all at once. Like, I'd rather spend a couple $100 every month than $5,000 up front. But this thing has like a steaming feature, and apparently I thought the machine was broken because it was just leaking nonstop, and tried to get somebody to come out. Nobody was available. It's a Sunday night, and the valves are seized to stop the water. So I had to make an emergency phone call. My it's like a brother to me. He's a contractor. He came out. Shout out to Izzy for helping save the day. Came and replaced the valves. And he's like, well, the water stopped. We didn't have water till 7 p.m. Literally from 8 in the morning to 7 p.m. we had no water at the house because we were just waiting for him to come back from Hemet. And they were hunting up in Hemet where they were fishing and hunting.
Gotcha.
He went out of his way, drove all the way back after his long morning and day and everything, and came and replaced the valves. We stopped the water. And it was as frustrating as that was, it was nice to not be like, how are we going to afford this?
Yeah.
Right? The question, I was frustrated with everything, but it was never a matter of, can we afford this? I talk about this in seminars. I talk about this all the time. I choose to live below my means. Mm-hmm. I could live in an extravagant house. I could drive a Ferrari if I wanted to, but I don't want to, because if I do that, I won't have money for anything. And then if that ever happened again, and it wasn't just as simple as, we had to unplug the dryer because that steam feature that it has is flooding the lines with too much water, I was like, all right, screw it. We don't even need this dryer feature. Yeah. Like, I paid for it. And that's where it's like, goes back to, I should have been more, well, I guess it's not my fault. I'm going to blame my wife for this one because I didn't pick them. But like, the guy that came to replace, like, do you really need this steaming, drying feature on the dryer? And she's like, not really. And I looked at her and I'm like, so why the hell did we pay all that money to buy it? Part of me is like, well, I want that. And she's like, yeah, but I just need to wash the clothes.
Yeah.
So it's like, going back in hindsight, like, we spent thousands of dollars on this thing. Now I can't even use the feature unless I pay thousands of dollars to make sure it works right, or I can just choose not to use it and everything goes back to normal because it's so advanced technology that overcomplicates everything. And it's like, great. So you're telling me I could have bought the same exact dryer for probably $1,000 less because the main selling point I can't even use because it floods the house.
Yeah.
And now it makes me feel stupid. Or it's like our budget for what we want and what we need could have been done better. And that's going from a perspective of somebody who's in the finance industry. It's like we all make these mistakes, right?
Yes.
And then as a husband, it's like wife didn't ask for anything all year. She's asking for one thing. I feel bad. I'm like, well, I could sit here and tell her, do we need it? Does it make sense? But you haven't asked for anything, and you're a great mom. You're a great wife. You work hard. It's like, screw it. Whatever. Just give it to her. But I want to say another scary fact out of that financial stuff is that 1/3 of Americans are a single traffic ticket away from their financial house of cards falling. One traffic ticket. 1 in 3 Americans are one traffic ticket that they can't get expunged or written off away from their house falling apart.
That's crazy.
33%, if you go at 1 in 3. 33% of Americans. It's one speeding ticket.
And will not be able to afford food or
Their
their car payment
everything.
or something, right? Dang. See, that's where that's where things like that get really like, you for you to make a change, it's got to be painful.
Yeah.
Right. And in that what, man, again, this is why I want to be able to hang around people that are smarter than me, because I get to learn that a little bit more in detail, and then I get to share that, right? I want to spread that. Like, hey, you don't want to be one of those 1/3 that you
can't even afford a traffic ticket because
well,
you're trying to get to work to feed your family.
Well, go back to the $1,000. Like, if you don't have that, how much are tires right now?
Yeah.
Just to, repair one.
Yeah.
That's $200 to $300. And you got to,
each tire, not 200 to 300 for the whole set.
And now, and so how that oil, how are you really doing it, right?
Yeah.
Like a weekend in Vegas, that's $3,000 to $5,000. Do you really need to go to Vegas?
Yeah.
Like, bro, 3 days? Or, hey, have that $3,000 to $5,000 and reserve for the whole year.
Yeah.
Now you're not stressing or worrying about other things. You know what kills people? Worried.
Yeah,
and
stress. Stress
Bro,
is a big killer.
It's and that's why it's going back to like, hey, people, you can be working at McDonald's, you can be working at In-N-Out nowadays, right? Making $25 an hour, have no debt, making better choices.
Yep.
You can still afford a house, and you can still live your rich life.
Yeah.
But you just have to have your priorities. What makes you happy, right? What really makes you happy? And
problem is people, what makes them happy is stuff. Emotional spending is a big problem because people are upset with their lives or unhappy with themselves. And, being a former 410-pound guy, I can tell you, what my de-stressor was. It was food.
No. Let's pause that. You were how many pounds?
410 pounds 8 months ago.
410 pounds. And how much you weigh now?
187.
Wow. Let's not skip to those big things right there, man. Let's literally, like, that's commitment, that's sacrifice, but that's health.
Yeah.
Because if you don't get that right, you don't get to see your wife or your kids grow up.
Yep.
Like, that's real. I was 200, almost 300 pounds, bro. I'm at 235 right now. When I see my pictures, I lose myself. I'm like, what? How could I let myself get to that? But making bad choices.
Yep.
Me personally.
Yeah, me too. I can't say, hey, man, I was at 400. Trust me. Oh, and I'm not 6'5" like you. Yeah. I'm 5'4", and I'll kill somebody to be 5'6".
I'm just telling you, these cameras, they're not showing the real height on me. So I just want you guys to know, right, on that part. But that's man, going back to it right now, where I'm at right now in my chapter of my life, and you telling me those things, I'm like, how could I have done that?
Yeah.
Now I tell my kids, every $100, $30 goes here, $30 goes there, and another $30 goes there, and $10 goes to your emergency.
Yeah.
Right? But $30 is for you. That's your fun money. Not 100. It's $30.
Right.
Right? That's your fun money. So you better use that wisely, because the other things are going somewhere.
Yeah, and there's ways to have fun for $30.
Yes, there is.
That's the thing. People think it has to be expensive to be fun, but it doesn't. Emotional spending plagues America. Emotional spending plagues America. Social media plagues America because we are giving the youth the expectation that they won't be accepted if they're not wearing the newest Nikes, the newest Jordans, the newest this, not carrying the newest iPhone. In reality, it's all, pardon my French, bullshit.
Yeah.
It's all bullshit. We have created consumerism in this country that devours the household, where I've seen it on countless situations where somebody can't afford to pay their bills, yet they have the audacity to wear full designer clothing. And it's always the funniest thing I've noticed is that the people who flex their clothing and shoes and jewels the hardest are usually the brokest.
Yeah. But it's just we have our our priorities wrong and our principles, and someone is teaching him that, right? It or her teaching those things that are not really valuable. You're not gonna catch a true friend like that.
No, exactly.
You know, you're
You're
catch
not
a
gonna
fake
find
one.
the girl of
Yeah,
your dreams.
no.
I try to mentor as many people as I can, and I had this young gentleman who thought if he had designer this and designer that, it would get him the girl. Well, he eventually got to a point where he had a car that he couldn't afford,
Yeah.
clothes that he overspent on, jewels that he overspent on, and the other day I saw him and he came to me for the first time with humility and showing a true form of humbleness, saying, I said, did it get you the girl? No, I'm still single, and now I'm in debt. So I'm trying to get rid of my car. I'm trying to sell this. And the stuff that I had been telling him, that the clothes don't make the man.
Mm-hmm.
The brands don't make the man. I used to be and for those of you who know me, I say it all the time, I used to be in wholesale distribution. I was making shirts and workout clothes in the same factory that Lululemon and Louis Vuitton and Gucci were making. And you want to know how much we were both spending on it? Actually, they were spending less than I was. I was spending $6 a shirt, and I was selling those shirts for $100. And they were spending less than me because they were ordering more than me because they're Louis Vuitton, except they were selling their shirts for thousands.
That, right, when you told me that story, guys, if you can see what I wear, you know, this one says God over all things, but I'm branded. I'm literally branded. I'm a walking billboard. After he told me that, he's like, why would you wear Hugo Boss shirt when you can brand your business? And it's a, you know, tax write-off.
Yeah.
And you're walking with it. And now you can give it away. And, you know, it is $20.
Yeah.
Real,
And you're getting the same quality.
Man, life changer. And again, it's surrounded myself with the right people. At the end of the day, I bet you have 2 or 3 favorite shirts, 2 or 3 favorite shorts or pants that you
like
wear
nice
consistently.
Sure, yeah.
Right?
And then having your one nice going out clothes. If I'm going to a birthday party or a wedding or something, of course, I'm not saying don't have nice things. I'm just saying when you go to my closet, it's going to be more MITM stuff. And as of lately, it's less of everything because I can't stick to one size. I started at 4XB. I'm down to large, and I'm slow close to medium. So it's like I buy a shirt or two at Kohl's. Shout out to Kohl's. Give me a sponsorship, Kohl's. I love you.
Yeah, right.
I shop at Kohl's, bro. I don't go to Louis Vuitton. I don't go to Saks. I don't do that. I shop at Kohl's. I get great shirts for great discounts, great clothes, and not one person has ever looked at me and been like, ugh, that's nasty clothes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, man, it's so true. And, you know, shout out to one of my closest friends and my mentor, Alan. Man, you know, that guy, it will run through anything until it doesn't work, you know, before he even buys something else. And he's not buying new no more. He's just buying, like, used. And he does it, man. And he does it, and I see that. He's a successful person, and, you know, he's in charge of more than 150 agents. You know, he's a role model, and that guy still drives his truck. You know what I mean? He still, like, plays around with older than me, right, stuff. And you're like, dang, bro, how do you do it? He's like, well, this makes me fun. I love riding bikes. I love going camping. Like, I need a truck that I can't keep it clean.
Yeah.
You know, so I bought a used one, but that was durable, 4x4, that I can. And I love it.
He got what he needed, not what he wanted. And it's worked out well for him.
And another thing that I you know, respect him so much even more beyond that. But, like, one thing he brought up, like, hey, man, a Ford Raptor just came up. He just told me, he's like, bro, it has everything, and they're selling it for like 20-something thousand. And I'm like, bro, this fits you. I was giving him bad advice. He didn't buy it, and I learned. I'm like, no, it's not the right time right now.
Yeah,
right.
Because he's got bigger goals and aspirations.
Exactly.
Right.
Because he told me that exactly that. I'd rather use that 25 grand, Roy, to buy another house.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, dang. You know, and the thing now is I'm enjoying learning those moments, right? Because I went 20-something years of a habit that I didn't know it was bad.
Yeah.
So that's yeah, man. That's a trip, bro.
No, it is. And you know, this podcast, we're just talking about the 5 scary things, but next podcast, we're going to come back to these 5 scary and give you some tips and tricks to counteract them. The next one, we talked about how many people don't have money in savings. Did you know that 21% of Americans don't have anything from their income, don't save anything from their income? So it's not only they don't have money for an emergency, 21% of Americans don't like literally if they make $100, they spend 100. They are down to zero. 21% of Americans are down to zero. They save nothing. And one of the biggest things that came up, impulse purchases, that emotional spending.
I was there. Yep.
An average of the American spending is $3,300 per year on impulse shopping. It was up 51% from last year. It is getting worse every year, year over year. We are spending more. Part of the reason, name brands, vehicles, things that you don't need, you choose to have. And you know, when I worked at the bank, man, I had a 1,000 horsepower stage 3 Mustang.
Oh, that's right. You told me about that one.
When it was brand new in 2018, when the Mustang came out with the new body style, I had a stage 3 Roush, supercharged, and it was fully equipped. It was over 1,000 horsepower by the time I was done with it. And I was working 12, 13-hour days. Guess where that $1,200 car payment was? Outside in the sun. Every day. And then when I would drive it, and this is at the time during the Trump presidency when gas was like $2.
Yeah.
At $2 a gallon, I was spending $50 every other day on gas. Full tank, because that thing only got I used to say it got 10 smiles per gallon.
10 smiles?
Not 10 miles, but you got 10 smiles out of it. And it was 10 miles per gallon. And did I love that car? People ask me, do you regret it? I say, no. I do not regret it because I was financially in a place where I could afford it, but it was not something that going back now when I wasn't a dad yet, I didn't have a wife, I was single, I was just enjoying myself. I was enjoying myself, my career, and you have to do that too. But I got out of it in a smart financial way. I sold it for more than what I bought it for. That car was in car shows and it was a great car. I had a blast. People ask if I regret it. I do not regret it. I got to enjoy it. But the moment that life presented itself and my wife said that she was pregnant, and I was like, okay, great. We're going to go buy a house. We're going to go. And I was like, okay, cool. Now I spend just as much as I do on one of my mortgages as I did on that car.
Yeah.
And there's the prioritization. I would rather live in a house than have a fast car.
Or fancy car.
Yeah.
And that's the weird, what you just said though, right? High schoolers can't wait to get out and buy their car.
Yeah, it's Hellcats right now. Everybody wants a Hellcat.
I'm like,
I've seen some of the most nastiest loans. Nastiest loans because of that car.
I was explain to me why. He's like, whoa, I can't wait to drive it. I'm like, oh, I could afford it. I'm like, how much is the payment? It's like about 1,000.
Yep.
Oh, I can. I'm like, where do you live? He's like, with my parents. Oh, they don't charge me rent, so I could afford it. I'm like, but what are the expectations? Now you're in contract with that particular vehicle for the next 5 to 7 years.
Right.
So you're telling me that by the time you're 25, you're done paying off that car.
Right.
And that's okay. You know, I think that's where those priorities or what's really, you know, valuable at that time. I'm like, really? You want to be stuck for the next 5 to 7 years?
Yeah. It's more than 5 to 7.
No,
Roy.
of course.
They get them on 8 years, 9 years.
But
It's nasty. I'm telling you, I've seen like 30% loans on those cars where it's like, you are going to work to pay this car.
And now you can't make moves because you're scared.
Yep. Well, you don't have, it's not that they're scared. They can't make moves because their entire paycheck goes to a stupid car payment. Because people's problem is that they think that the asset that they're purchasing, whatever it is, isn't depreciating. And they're all depreciating assets, first and foremost. Second of all, you're taking the car payment and you think that's where it ends? Yeah. Where's the insurance? Where's the gas? Where's the maintenance? Where's this? Where's that? I know you're not going to buy it and think this is enough. Now we have to wrap the car, and it's going to be $3,000. It's just like, it's just always something. We're adding to the list of things that we don't need, where it's like, meanwhile, I can call my brokers in LA and get a brand new lease. Remember, I was showing you where it's like, oh, do you want to, everybody used to ask, how are all these people in LA driving these fancy cars? I'm like, they don't own these cars. They lease these cars, and these brokers get them on great deals. You want to drive a BMW? You can drive a BMW for $300 a month. Yeah. You don't have to own it for $1,000. Yeah. But the problem is like nobody goes that far. They consume what they're told to consume, and they somehow end there. And it's like, you don't need a Hellcat. Would you like one? Sure. Do you need one? No. Yeah. Because you now have to work to make it, and you think that's going to make people like you. And then on top of that, it's one of the most, it was rated the most stolen car in America. It is the highest theft rate vehicle in the country. Meanwhile, the lowest theft rate in the country, Teslas. Yeah. And you can pick up a Tesla now for $200 a month at 1.9%. But it doesn't go, you know, it's like, and I get it. I had a car that was like that, but I got that car because I wanted that car. That car wasn't popular. None of those cars were popular at that time.
And going back to that, right? This is, I don't know what stat it is, but we need to look it up. How many Americans know that right after high school, if you work for the next 2 years full time, that they qualify to buy a house by the time they're 20. I would love to know that stat. How many know? How many people can buy a house by the time they're 20?
We're gonna have to do some more. I'm actually interested.
I would love to know that, because I've helped a lot of several of my football players buy their first home at 21, 22 years old, first generation. But I would really love to know, because I didn't know that. I didn't know, like, hey, even though you're not going to college, or even though you don't know what to do in your life right now, get to work full time, to buy a used car, do not have any payments, right?
Yep.
Buy a used car
and just stash it.
And then for the next 2 years, while you're living with your parents, hey, you can pay some rent to help them out, but the next 2 years, let's get your credit right. You can buy your own home. Now, this is where those different things is. What's more baller? Right.
Yeah, driving a Hellcat.
You're seeing the nice car, but you're going into your parents' pad, or seeing a used car, but you're going into your pad.
Yeah, at 21.
At 21.
Where most kids don't. I just don't get it. I get it. I don't get it is the problem. I understand it, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's priorities. Why? And I'll tell you why they choose it. It's because your method requires time and investment. Yeah. Their method requires emotion and quick decision.
Right now. Yeah, and right now, and the thing is, like, hey, maybe one of those friends want to go move in with you. Now you have renters, and that's paying your mortgage.
Yeah,
and now, hey, that person is paying $500, $600 a month to live here, and it's a 3-bedroom. Maybe I rented the other one. Now it's $1,000. That is now. Yeah. If you really wanted to, now you can go like, well, if I go buy this car right now, it's paying it for itself.
Yeah.
Now you have options, right? But
at that point, that person's already figured it out. We're like, I don't need that car. I'd rather get another house. I'm going to do it all over again and get another house.
Exactly, man. So whenever I sit down with my clients, right, regardless of age, regardless of where they come from, I always tell them, it's like, hey, you can do this without a high school, college diploma, degree, making 6 figures. Like, we just got to be strategize on a couple things, but you can do it.
Yeah,
man, it's such a blessing. That's why my consultations take about 2 hours, man, because I want to let them know everything. I give them all that details. I give them hope that they can, and I got proof. I got field workers, bro, buying houses right now. When everyone was telling them, oh, you can't afford it because you work over here. You can. We just got to figure out where and how.
Yep, that's it. It's always possible. And, tying back into that, going into our last one, that 1 in 3 Americans have saved $0 in retirement. That means 33% of Americans have saved nothing for their golden years. And those same field workers and those same mechanics and those same people who break their body when they turn to the certain age where their body just can't handle the break anymore, they're not going to have anything. And living on Social Security, fixed income, I mean, all of us know a grandma, grandpa, an abuelo, an abuelito of somebody, just anybody who's living paycheck to paycheck off Social Security.
Yeah.
And the worst part is that's taxed.
Yeah.
Social Security is still taxed. So not only do they make $1,000 a month off their social and $2 off their social, but they have to pay taxes at the end of the year for it too.
Again, right? We impact doing it now, but we don't think about what can happen 10, 20, 30 years from now.
Yep.
Right? And, we've all been taught a lie. And that's something I've learned from Alan. It's like, hey, school has told you got to go to school for the first 21 years, right? And then after 21 years to 70 is what? Work. And after 70, you get to have fun. Yeah. Right? Well, by the time I'm 70, I can't move like I move in the 20s, right? You know what I mean? Or right now. So I'm like, and so what he taught me is like, you can learn, work, and have fun every day.
Yeah, of course.
You don't have to wait. And once I added that to my daily routines, daily habits, daily rituals with my family, life changed, man. Yeah. Because I go all in. I'm being intentional about learning when I read or when I hear you talk. I'm paying attention. And then I get to go use it and go work for the next 6 hours. And then I get to go enjoy my family. Yeah. I get to go home or I get to go coach. I get to go do things that I love. Yeah. Man. And now I'm not in a hurry to retire. But man, it's just, I had the best vacation I've ever had a couple weeks ago. And it was in Laredo, Mexico. Boy, did I tell you I didn't have to worry about nothing.
Yeah, I remember. You were like, it's the first vacation I've actually enjoyed myself, and just everything slowed down around me.
Yes. And my wife and my kids got to experience that as well. Yeah. Without me and my wife arguing about, well, how are we going to pay this? Everything was done. Yeah. Man, that's freedom, guys.
Yeah, and I've said it before, too. Financial freedom is not a dollar amount. It's when you have a choice. Yeah. And when you have that choice, that's financial freedom. It's hour 5. I think we're good.
We're good.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the first episode of Parents and Pennies. We hope to see you back. Go to our website, mitm.services. Join our Discord. We have a Discord channel now for all MITM clients. If you're coming in from Parents and Pennies, we'll have it in the description box below. But, click on that, join the Discord, verify yourself, and it says where you're coming from, put Parents and Pennies. And you can be in the same community as other families that are just trying to, start their, financial journey and better themselves. But, Roy, thank you so much for your time.
I appreciate it.
We look forward
Shout
to the
out
next.
to this. People are going to start seeing this right here. That means I'm shouting out to God, to my family, to all my clients, and all my football players.
That's it, baby.
So that's what this means. So
that's
every
it.
Picture you're going to see, I'm going to see this. I'm going to shouting out to all you guys. I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate
Till next week.
Till next week. See you guys then.
Stay blessed.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Parents and Pennies. We hope you found our tips and insights helpful. Remember, it's not about how much you have, it's about making the most of what you've got. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with other parents who could use a little financial guidance. Join us next week for more real stories, advice, and the financial wisdom you need to keep your family thriving. Until then, keep making those pennies count.